good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching this. I am Pastor Christine. I'm one of your pastors here at Travelers Rest United Methodist Church, and I hope you all are doing well as we are living into this new type of living, and just wanted to check in with you again. Particularly, I wanted to check in with our youth. Our United Methodist Youth Fellowship usually meets on Sunday nights at 5, but we were not able to meet in person. But we have been talking about the 7 habits of highly effective teens this semester. And so I wanted to share with you a little bit more about that. I'm coming to you from the youth Sunday school classroom. So it is very quiet and empty in the youth Sunday school classroom, and I miss the youth being here with me, but I want to just touch base with you and hope that you and your family are doing well. This is a good lesson for all of us, I think, not just for our youth, but this is aimed especially for them, since this is what we've been talking about at our UMYF youth group meetings. So we have talked about habit number 1 and habit number 2 so far. Habit number 1 is be proactive, and certainly in light of the coronavirus, there are new ways that we can think about being proactive instead of reactive. Remember that being proactive means taking responsibility and taking charge of your life, and so not blaming others, but controlling your actions and your words and your behaviors yourself. You are in the driver's seat. You have the remote control to your TV. You're in charge of, you can't control everything, but you can control you. That's be proactive. In light of the coronavirus, that might mean things like social distancing and washing your hands more, and just being aware of ways that we can help not spread this virus. That's being proactive, social distancing. Habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind. And in light of the coronavirus, we can think about the end in a positive way of being once this crisis is over and we have figured out ways to stop the spread and contain it, and hopefully one day have a vaccine or a cure for that. And then if we begin with that end in mind, then what can we do today to take steps in that general direction? So that would be a way to look at that habit in light of our new circumstances. Habit number 3, we were going to skip habit number 3 because last spring semester 2019, we talked the whole semester about priorities, and habit number 3 is put first things first, and that is about priorities. But I did want to just touch on that with a little demonstration for us today. So this is a demonstration on habit number 3, putting first things first, setting priorities. And I wanted to start off with a scripture, and we'll come back to the scripture at the end. It's Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. Seek first God's kingdom and God's righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. And I would suggest reading that whole chapter of Matthew 26. It's a very good chapter for the season of Lent, and a very good chapter for the times that we find ourselves in. It talks about prayer and fasting and giving to the needy and treasures in heaven, and do not worry. Boy, is that appropriate. So for this demonstration, I have a vase here with golf balls in it. There are 15 golf balls in the vase, and I think you would agree with me that it seems pretty full. They're all the way up to the top. But we can fit in more. And so I have these pebbles. This might be loud. Pour the pebbles into the vase, and look, we do have room for more. We're just going to fill this up. The golf balls represent our priorities, putting first things first, our highest priorities. And we talked last year about our priorities being God, our relationship with God through Christ, family, our priorities being people, different groups of people, family, friends, church family, being a priority in our lives. So God and people, and look, I can't get any more in. Well, it's full, or so we think it's full. We might have to rearrange a little bit. And then we think it's full, but if we take some sand, it might be so clogged up I can't even get the sand down there because of the shape of my vase. It worked last time. Anyway, we can get a little bit more in there with the sand, and if it wasn't clogged up, it would go down even further. So we take our priorities, our highest priorities, our relationship with God, people, our family and friends, and even people that we don't know yet. Helping people would be a priority. And we have to put our biggest priorities in the vase first, and then our lesser priorities, our smaller priorities will fit in around it. If we did it the opposite way, and started off with sand and just started filling the vase with sand, we would fill it with sand, and then we wouldn't really have room for anything else, our pebbles or our golf balls, because it would be filled up with sand. So you got to think about what's important versus what is urgent. And certainly, again, in the times of the coronavirus, we reassess our priorities also. There's some priorities that maybe we took for granted before, or we didn't think about as much, like our health and our safety, and the health and safety of our loved ones and of our world. And so that is a priority that is a golf ball, especially in this day and time. And so you got to think of the things that maybe we fill lots of our time with that really aren't that important. And maybe that's, even though we have lots of screen time probably in these days at home, that's not an important thing. That's something we spend our time doing, but it's not a priority. And so arranging your life, and you have all this time on your hands, arranging your life and remembering what are your priorities, and then living your life and what you spend your time on accordingly. So again, we look back to this scripture real quick from Matthew 6, verse 33, but seek God's kingdom and God's righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. And God is our first and highest priority, like the golf balls, and we want to do those things first and spend most of our time on our highest priorities. So I hope you enjoyed this devotional and this demonstration to go along with it, and I hope that you are doing well. I miss you all. I'm praying for you all. I miss your families and my Travelers Rest United Methodist Church family. Keep me in prayer, and I will keep you in prayer as well, and we are still connected together through God's grace, even in these trying times. Amen.